Okay, thank you everybody for tuning into a Global from Asia podcast. This is one that's been on the list. I don't know, it's been on the list for a while. And our team's already talking to Luke about this episode before recording. So we're prepared today. It's in the lifestyle category today. We could talk about so many different things with Luke, but this is Luke Francis, another American entrepreneur, and we used to say in China, but in Vietnam, and heading back to the States, or at least on the list. So today we're going to talk about the journey and some sharing of all the sourcing and products and startups and things you've worked on. So thanks again, Luke, for coming on. Do you mind just giving people a little bit of your background for those listening?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for bringing me on the show. It's great to be here from Saigon, Vietnam. And yeah, I was back in 2015, I moved out to China to manufacture a watch. And we can get into that, I guess, a little bit as we move forward here. But yeah, essentially, I started out of college in the corporate world doing marketing for a SaaS company. And I didn't really enjoy it. I think it was a great company, but the lifestyle and that kind of just corporate life wasn't for me. And so I wanted to pursue my own options and see if I could make my own lifestyle where there was a balance between, enjoying my environment and being able to travel at the same time, making money and, surviving. And so I moved out to China because this is interesting. So a lot of people in that we know together jointly, they go out to China for the opportunity, right? There's a lot of opportunity out there to manufacture. I mean, certainly now with COVID, it's a little bit different climate, but back then the opportunity was you go there, you manufacture something, you can pop it up on Kickstarter or, Shopify or whatever you want to do, right? For me though, I was always interested in China. I'd always been interested in Chinese culture. And so I just wanted to go to China because of China. And actually, I backed into the business opportunities that China has available just because I learned through some online communities like Enter China that I could start my own business when I moved to China. So I kind of started opposite. Like a lot of people start with, I want to go manufacture something, so I go to China. I was like, I want to go to China, so how do I get there and afford that life? Oh, well, let's try and make a business. Let's manufacture something.
Yeah, I hear you, dude. I know. I mean, it's true. This whole COVID, I mean, we're all just wondering how long this COVID life will be. But yeah, it's totally different now. I mean, people can't just hop on a plane anymore and go to China or Asia, which is affecting all of us. I mean, I think everybody's being affected. But yeah, I mean, I definitely miss those. I hope they come back. But those old times where you could just, I hope there's this time where it goes back, where it's just like, I just want to go to China or Asia, or I want to just start up my, new Kickstarter or my new venture. I'm quitting my job and I'm flying out to Asia. A lot of people sometimes pick Thailand or Vietnam or China, but hopefully that comes back. But
yeah, I agree. But unfortunately, I feel like a number of things need to change, not just COVID, but maybe some geopolitical things as well.
Yeah, that's the other issue.
Addressed.
Man, I mean, we chat on WeChat still. Hopefully that keeps working. But basically, I do feel the trade war was already an issue even before COVID. Now COVID, trade war, and the other issues, political issues, and it's going backwards, and especially here in the GFA community. And we have even the event called Cross Border Summit. We try to do yearly, or have been doing yearly. It seems like walls are going up. I know you're also going through some. We'll maybe get to that later about immigration for your wife and everything. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I guess you kind of led into let's first start with your move to China. Obviously that each question on here could be an episode or a book, so it's hard.
I could ramble on about anything.
I know.
For a while.
So much to share. I know, but like you said, you had to watch, and you're crowdfunding, and you want to just give us some of the highlights.
The highlights, yeah. So it was a great opportunity. So at the time in 2015, I think this was March, I was looking at Kickstarter, crowdfunding specifically, or more generally, and I knew there was an opportunity there. I had found the Inner China community, which was kind of helping people to do this, these kind of crowdfunded projects out of China. And I was kind of learning that system and how that worked. And part of that is researching what products are good opportunities, and watches were very clearly selling well, and they still do today, even so many years later on crowdfunding. And so I worked with a designer on Upwork and designed a watch, although I it's funny because I never wore a watch in daily life prior to this. So, it was merely a business opportunity, and I made the watch, went out to China, manufactured it. But there's some downsides to that too. And I guess this is kind of the lessons learned part, that although I was able to find what looked like a great supplier on the outside, they ended up making the watch exactly how I had imagined it, and it looked great. But the quality, once it delivered and once people started wearing it, it was clear that the quality wasn't there. And the watches started to break in mass, and everybody wanted their money back. And this is something where I learned that quality control is super important. And for one, you don't trust the supplier to do quality control for you. And then for two, it's important to know how your product comes together in order to be able to accurately put together some parameters around what to check when you're doing quality control. So if you don't know what to check, you can just go ahead and say, okay, yeah, like everything's working right now. And that's how I kind of assessed it. Oh, it works correctly now. The watch is functioning. But I didn't know what the potential fail points were in the future, which is what caused all of these problems en masse down the line.
Yeah.
And so that's why
my dad likes it, man. I think I took a couple of them, but the second one he liked. So that's cool, man. But
oh, that's great. Yeah. I think I remember that. And then his ended up breaking, like the first one I sent,
says,
right?
I think he says
the dial
thing fell off. The hour.
Oh, the glass. Yeah, the glass on the top.
Something. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, everything just started falling apart. It's a bunch of.
Oh man!
But and I'll just kind of get a little bit more specific on that. Like when you are doing quality control, you either want to like know your product in and out and all the potential future fail points, or bring somebody on that's like a quality control expert, but a quality control expert in the field that you're manufacturing. So there's like general quality control, and then there's people that are quality control with watches, and they know what all the potential problems can be. And that would be the type of quality control that you would want, somebody specific to your product, because then they know exactly what to look out for down the line.
Yeah, understand. Let's go. So I'm curious. I had moved to Chiang Mai a couple of years ago. I can't remember when you were in Vietnam for a while. Then we even met for Chiang Mai for a bit, and then I know you're back in Vietnam now. I think a lot of people are. It seems like Southeast Asia, at least in our community, is getting more hot topic for sourcing and for like living, at least pre-COVID. And I'm just curious how did I don't remember personally when we talked. What was the transition to Vietnam? I think it was China, Vietnam.
Yeah. So after the watches kind of broke down, literally, I was just kind of traveling around Western China. So, like I said, I'd always been fascinated by China. So I just took the opportunity to kind of travel around. I was doing some consulting and just working off the laptop, living the laptop lifestyle. And I checked out like Chengdu, Kunming, Dali, Lijiang, all those beautiful cities and areas out west of China. But I was in Chengdu in 2018, and I felt like there was a change. It could have been Chengdu, because Chengdu typically trends to be more nationalistic. But I just felt that I wasn't as welcome as an expat in China, and things just felt different. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a break. I'm going to go down to Vietnam, because I heard that Vietnam was a good place to be as like a digital nomad and doing things off the laptop and trying to create business opportunities. So I wanted to go down to Vietnam and see what was available there. And so I went to Ho Chi Minh City, or Saigon,
Yeah.
In July of 2018, and just went to check it out, but never left.
Yeah. That's what happens to a lot of us in our stories. I mean, kind of living my China story. I mean, came back right, pretty fast, but yeah, I mean, a lot of us are like that. So, so was there let's hear about that. I mean,
Yeah, Vietnam. Yeah. So I met my wife, and that's kind of why I stuck around. But in general, on the kind of business side of things, it's I would say there are more individuals that are out here kind of living the digital nomad lifestyle than you would find in mainland China. It's a different type of business group, entrepreneur group. In China, I felt like it was more tech and start like, especially in the Shenzhen, Guangzhou area where I was. But then people coming in and out of China, they come in to do their manufacturing and then they leave, right? Whereas here, there's people that have stationed themselves here. This has become like their kind of base, and then maybe they're traveling around Southeast Asia, but still enjoying meeting up. And there's a lot of great people to meet up and a lot of cool events to, mingle with other entrepreneurs and stuff like that. So it's definitely a good hub for entrepreneurship. Maybe, Chiang Mai is a great place to start, whereas Ho Chi Minh City would be a little bit more mature on that journey of entrepreneurship. If you wanted to look at it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you wanted to talk more about lifestyle.
Yeah, a question, but I'm almost curious. I do hope this can be a little bit more evergreen, but of course there's a COVID. So are people? I mean, also it was not really affected. I heard Vietnam didn't, but I mean, I think they unlocked, they unlocked. Now they locked again, or I heard are going back into lockdown again.
We were on lockdown for about a month when was it? I think it was April or May. It was about a month. And then, but I was able to come into the co-working space every day. It was no problem getting around. There was only like a week there where even Grab was shut down. But other than that, it was pretty open. And then after that month where there was no new cases for, I think, a 2-week period, then they opened everything back up, and with cautions, like everybody's wearing their mask and their temperature checked and everything, but things are pretty open. And then recently there was a flare up in Da Nang, and that came to Saigon a bit. There was a couple new cases here, and so there's a bit more tighter measures, like they're back checking temperatures everywhere you go, and everybody's wearing their masks more strictly, but everything's open still. Restaurants are still functioning.
Okay. Yeah, so it's tricky with the COVID, but let's just try to not think about COVID, or let's just hope it's maybe another few months and then hopefully back to normal. Let's just that. What would you recommend somebody listening today, maybe back in your shoes, sitting in the U.S., maybe not happy where they're working, want to get into the adventure? I guess maybe Vietnam, a little bit of Thailand, and you said Thailand might be a good start, and then maybe Vietnam for more experience, or China. I guess China feels like with the political, and even I'm kind of nervous being in China right now. I don't know. And but
as far as regions, I think also it depends on your sense of adventure. I think if you are a Western individual listening to this and you want to change your location, that Thailand is a easier option. It's a great place to start. Like Chiang Mai and any of the beach towns in Thailand is a great place to start. The amenities there are comfortable, and living is comfortable, and it's not incredibly jarring compared to the West, in my opinion. Now, if you move directly to China or Saigon, I think that could be jarring, depending on your sense of adventure and how much you're willing to accept new things. But yeah, I think Thailand's probably the easiest place to start if you want to ease into it
Okay.
from a location perspective. In my opinion, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess
That's
I
been
could
my
add
sense.
mine. Well, for me, I mean, you're gonna maybe get into that later, but I was looking for schools for my kids at the time when I was not
Hmm.
happy with the school choices and costs in South China, or probably most of China from what I've talked to. But as an entrepreneur, to pay for the cost of school in China for English, it was a little bit out of control. I think anybody listening would agree with me. So I didn't see too many in Vietnam. I have mutual friends. We have friends in Vietnam. Saigon were trying to convince me to pick there, but I couldn't find as many school options. That was kind of one of the issues for me in Vietnam. But in Chiang Mai, it's like a suburb of it's like a American suburbs. Like
Yeah, it
it's really
really
like
is. It's
laid back. It's totally different in Bangkok. We also say Thailand, Vietnam. I mean, each city, just like in the U.S. or China, like obviously it's also city level, right? But Chiang Mai is like a suburban coffee shop, mellow. I mean, it's getting a little. Maybe
super
now it's
chill.
changing, but
Yeah.
it was getting. There's a little bit of issue now with tourists. It's a little bit overcrowded tourists, especially Chinese tourists. At least, again,
Hmm.
COVID's happening in the middle now, so the world's changing. But at least then, that was one of the negatives. Kind of was just getting a little bit more polluted. The biggest one is the burning season. Is such a
Yeah, that
bummer.
sucks.
It's a real
Yeah.
big bummer. But you know, there's tons of schools there for like English, international level schools from the 7 to 12,000 US a year per kid kind of range. So that was kind of acceptable for me and my wife. It's still kind of a lot when you put times two, but it's whereas in Vietnam, at least from my research and my friends trying to tell me to go there, I said, give me a couple of schools like that are not in the $25,000 a year, which sounds crazy. Right? I don't want to pay $25,000 a year for kindergarten. I'm sorry, like I just don't want to pay $25,000 per kid for kindergarten. So I found those in Vietnam and Saigon, like in China. So I couldn't find, even in Bangkok, there's not many.
Yeah.
In Bangkok's expensive too, I think, for schools. But in Chiang Mai, there's for some reason just a lot. I guess I don't know really why, but it's just the cost of living's low, and there's even families in Thailand move to Chiang Mai for the schools, from what I've heard.
Yeah. I've heard similar things. We haven't started looking at because my kids are so young,
Yeah, this is
and we're also in the transition back to the States. But yeah, I've heard similar things about the price here in Ho Chi Minh City, compared,
yeah. I think
similar
it's
to what you
expensive.
experience in China
Yeah, I think Ho Chi
or these
Minh.
kind of
Yeah,
Western schools.
if you want English, that's the hard thing. I think. I guess you're going through it now. Like when you start looking at the costs as a single, it could be female, but usually it's male. But there's normal female women, Western women coming to Asia too. But the whole adventure of a single person, whether it's a man or woman, is totally different than a married with kids life. Like it's
Changes everything.
changes everything. So I know when we met last in Chiang Mai. You're holding your little one, and I had my two. They're like more toddlers, running around now.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's true. Even without the whole digital nomad or traveling, but even just anywhere in your home country, it's just obviously a life changer. So yeah, I mean today's show is more lifestyle, anyways. So um, I guess I do have one question though. Do you think the digital nomad? Some people said the digital nomad lifestyle is dead. They think with COVID and travel restrictions and visa restrictions that might be coming.
Hmm.
I mean, I kind of feel like it has been kind of smoke. I feel like it's smoking out all these people because I have friends in China that are on like 30-day, 60-day stays, and they're like kind of like, where do I go? My visa's expiring. I have friends in Thailand, their visa's expiring. They can't get renewal, or it's harder to get renewal.
Yeah,
I just feel like everybody's kind of getting. I call it the smoke out. It's like, and it's getting
it's
harder.
temporary though. I mean,
Yeah,
this will change. Yeah, maybe it's harder now, but it'll get back to the way, because the underlying desire that leads people to choose this lifestyle will always be there. So once the COVID situation goes away and things kind of get back to normal, people will be back at it again.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I do agree. It's just, I guess, we keep saying that, but then I do feel like I was there for September 11th in New York, well, New Jersey, across the river. But I saw the towers go down. And if you think about travel before September 11th, there was no Patriot Act. There was no all this like all this detect. I don't. There was definitely security at the airports, but it was not like to the level of now. You know, take your shoes off, dump the
Mm-hmm.
water out of your bottle. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I think travel is gonna just. I think not just short term. Of course, short term, but I think it's gonna be a long term thing now. There are face shields. You know, like masks. I think it's going to be more and more difficult to travel, even 5 years from now. I feel, but we'll never know. We're not going to really know. But
Yeah,
um,
I hope not. I hope that we don't get into a state of constant fear, uh,
yeah,
and let that drive, how nations interact with each other and make deals on, travel, um, and the rights to go between nations. I mean, I hope that we can keep some of these wonderful open border agreements between, Southeast Asian nations, of course, and
yeah,
even China.
I
Even
know.
China.
Well, like China, I have friends really upset because they're like us. They have wife and kids, but they were on the other side of. I barely made it back. I think in my story, I barely made it back before borders closed, and borders still seem. I think there might be some loopholes now, but it seems pretty much closed still. So, um, in a way, I feel like some countries are using this as an excuse to keep borders closed. In a way, I mean, they'll never probably admit or be able to prove that, but yeah, it's just we'll just have to wait and see. There's obviously nobody can predict, look in the magic crystal ball and get the answer, but let's just hope they go back because it was getting crazy.
Yeah.
Like, but some people say it's almost better now because there's all these like tourists everywhere and nature. But the one scary
Yeah.
thing, we're talking about Chiang Mai. I don't know about. There's all these elephant parks, which actually is good. They're going away because some of them were like cruel to elephants and stuff. But I heard
Right.
they're just releasing the elephants now. They're just like
Oh,
letting the
wow.
because they can't pay for them because there's no tourists, so it's expensive to feed an elephant. So I've heard stories on Facebook groups, and there's like
Yeah,
animals
that's tough. Because
around.
then they might get picked up by, loggers or whatever to be reused in that trade that they got out of, right?
Yeah. Anyway, let's just see what happens. But so yeah, I guess let's go to the next topic. Marriage. The next stage of life for
Yeah.
you know that a lot of us
Yeah,
are going through.
man.
'Cause I think the digital nomad movement. I guess I don't know if I'm really. I guess we still count as digital nomads, but we're not. It's a lot of. This is only maybe 10, 15 years old max. Of people who
Hmm.
do this. So now I think more and more people like becoming like us, getting married, having kids. So do you want to kind of? I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
You want to share?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely, so I guess, and this is just kind of general thoughts on marriage, but like when you start as an individual, it's so selfish, right? Like everything is about me. Like I was optimizing for my life to have the most enjoyment in China and Southeast Asia, just having fun just for me and living life on my terms. But then when you bring a wife into the picture, then you've got to consider two. But then you have
Yeah,
two kids, and you've got to consider four people, right? And it takes away a lot of personal freedoms, and it takes away a lot of that selfishness as well, or at least you have to come to terms with a lot of that selfishness.
agree.
And you and that's the biggest thing I've learned is that um, I had this idea of what like a digital nomad family might look like, but then that turned out to be wildly different in the fact that you know, even visas, like especially because my wife is Vietnamese, and the Vietnamese passport cannot get the same level of uh, you know travel experiences as a American passport can get, and
Yeah, I
that's
know.
just facts. I mean, I wish it was easier, but it's not, and so it's difficult for us to even go and enjoy another country
It's
because
true.
she has to leave within 14 to 30 days,
I know. I
and
mean, yeah. I mean, my wife's Chinese, and yeah, but it's similar. Like, even when we get to Chiang Mai, like the Thai people are much immigration policies are much more difficult to Chinese for long-term visas. And but yeah, I think a lot of us, we all learn, like even before we're married, I know some of us nomads have girlfriends that want to travel, and they're obviously, from these countries that are also difficult for travel. And it makes us start to realize also how, fortunate we are to have that. But of course, it also makes it more difficult now we have that.
Yeah. But and I don't know if this is heresy to say out loud here, so maybe I
Yeah.
can say it in a hushed tone, but after having a family, I start to feel like the constant travel lifestyle is not the best, and I feel like I find myself gravitating more and more towards routine and something that I can count on a
Yeah.
daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Yeah. I
And I
think.
enjoy that consistency.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's all of us. Me too. It's just exhausting to think about, especially when we have to move a group of people, and then.
Hmm.
So I think it's natural. I think I'm even reading some books about, um, human, the past, the tribal. Like I think humans used to just live in groups of 25 to 50, and they were hunter gatherers, and
Hmm.
um, they didn't really, people wanted to stay in
What's
their.
this book?
That's what I was afraid to say. I'm reading a book, sovereign individual, I believe.
Okay.
It's on my Kindle. Um,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and I got it. I get too many books, but basically, it's talking about 500 years. We've been living in these 500-year cycles, and you know, Jesus was born, right? That was zero, and then before that, like Rome started falling after Jesus, the whole Jesus thing from 0 to 500, and then there was the Dark Ages from 500 to 1000, and then from 1000 to 1500 was the Renaissance, they called it, where Christopher Columbus, the discovery of all these new places, and then 1500 to 2000 was the industrial wave, and now we're going to the information age in the 2000s, which seems to be the book was written in 2000, but I feel like it took 20 years. But what he's saying is like, he even talked about virus and all this stuff, and um, but yeah, I mean, it's just a new world. We live in the information world, and it says
Hmm.
governments are less and less important, and they're going to keep trying to hold on to their power because they don't want to lose their power, but they're not as needed as they used to be, because it's all about information and creativity. But the governments are still trying to show their power, which is what is happening, right? Like they're holding on to their powers. So I don't want to get to conspiracy theory, but it does seem to be, at least how I see it. But yeah, marriage and settling down. So let's talk. Unless you have something to say on that crazy rant, but
No, no, just getting back to the marriage. Yeah.
marriage stuff.
And
So
yeah.
we had met, and you were in Chiang Mai for a while, and then you're back in Vietnam, and now where are you at now? Like in this.
Yeah. So we're back in Ho Chi Minh City, just living out in kind of a far out district, not near the center at all, but it's located next to her parents so
Oh,
that they can come over and assist with the kids
great. Yeah, that
regularly.
does
So
help.
that's been great. Yeah.
I'm the same, man.
And yeah, but in the process, like we're living here for the next year as we fill out the paperwork to get her immigrated to the U.S.
Okay.
And so once that paperwork processes, we'll move over to the U.S.
I just
Kind of
I
comes full circle.
I thought of you.
6 years
I thought of
in.
you. I read the article. It says U.S. immigration is getting more expensive and harder. I mean, I think seems like the whole Trump administration seems like walls are going. I mean, I think it's happening with Brexit. It's happening in everywhere, but it seems like everything's getting harder, right? So I'd love to just hear
Yeah,
some.
so our experience has been that it's not difficult for us, and I think the reason is that it's we're married. She's coming over as a spouse of an American citizen, and that speeds up the process quite a bit. I think it is, however, getting a lot more difficult for people that maybe came through some of these systems like the lottery, or
Yeah.
even asylum seekers, or any of these other visa immigration programs that the U.S. had. Those are now becoming just more difficult. But
Yeah.
I think for people coming over as family members, or as part of from a spouse, or however that works, it's a lot easier.
Okay. All right. So we're kind of in the middle of in summer 2020 now. So then you think by like,
Mm-hmm.
I guess then next summer, you think, or so?
Well,
Or,
actually, we were hoping December. We're in the second part of the process now, so she needs to schedule her interview with the U.S. consulate.
uh,
And once that, hopefully she passes the interview. If everything checks out, then we'll move, hopefully in December. But we just, like, the hardest part is knowing timelines. You can read online some averages, but nobody's for sure. And
yeah, of
then
course.
everything is kind of backed up,
I heard with the
because
COVID
the
thing.
staffing is not as they're not at 100% staff. So it's just, it's backed up a bit.
Okay. Well, good luck, man. I hope it goes smoothly. And um, it's honestly not something I'm doing right now actively. We've had some discussions with Wendy, my wife, but for now,
What's keeping you in China?
yeah. I mean, it's a common question. I mean, we were in Chiang Mai. The quick story was her parents got had different illnesses, and her grandma had passed away in November. And um,
Sorry to hear that.
yes, when her grandma was, she says she's brought her up. Her grandma helped her a lot. So I guess similar like us now, her grandparents are helping our kids a lot. So it seems like you too a little bit. So they kind of this connection with their grandparents even more than maybe in the Western world. Of course, I had a good relationship with my grandparents, but so she went back, and then she was here in November while I was in Chiang Mai with the kids for, it was a long weekend, but basically, then she found out her mom had, basically some pretty progressed cancer, and her dad some heart, and so she was just this is all before COVID. So in November last year, we were chatting, and she says, I have to go back and spend time with my family. I guess that's true with, I think I also think about my own parents, or, family members. And so she says, you don't have to go with me, but, I'll take care of the kids. And so the plan was I just chose Philippines because I have some business there anyway. And I didn't really see myself living here. Well, I came here for a few weeks and I left literally. I remember hearing about, I don't even know if they had the name coronavirus yet, but I remember hearing about a virus while I was still here. But I flew middle of January, early January to Philippines, and my plan was.
I mean, nobody knew what it was going to become.
Yeah, basically I was planning to be bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
Maybe not often, but I was maybe going to come back in March, like a couple of months, and then visits, and then because I switched from a work permit in China to a 10-year business visa, with the, I was just couldn't even stay for 6 months. Like basically it was a half-year plan. The original plan was we finished the school semester in Christmas in Thailand. We didn't renew. We told them we might, we were switching schools. So it kind of worked out anyway. So the idea is she also wanted to learn Chinese more anyway. So it was like a half year here. I could be like a digital nomad or traveler. And then we were going to go back to Chiang Mai in the fall. But yeah, of course, a lot of people say, why don't you go back to the US? You're like hustling so much. You're like paying all this money for schools. It is true, but I still, even the show, I don't know, I don't want to use my podcast as a scapegoat, but, I mean, it's kind of become my life. I've been here so many years, I can't even remember. I guess 2007 is when I officially came. So,
do you feel a stronger connection with China and the region than you do with the U.S. at this point?
I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, you get China for life." I mean, I think I'm more Asia. I don't know. It's hard to say for life, but I think Asia. That's just how I feel. But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't plan to come back to China. I mean, I thought I would just visit China. It's not like I would never come back. I'm not like a big anti-China. I mean, a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I I mean, there's also there's governments and policies, and then there's people, right? So of course policies, like I feel the same. Like I feel like not as welcomed here. Maybe it's in my head, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like it used to be where um, I guess it was too extreme nice to foreigners or easy, especially white skinned
Right. Right.
foreigners.
Yeah.
I think you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. I mean, unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe I guess for us, but unfortunately for other foreigners, it wasn't as nice. But by being a white, especially male, I guess female too, but it used to be almost too easy or too nice for us. And now it's like I can't really say specifically things, I can't say, but I just feel like I don't get that same vibe as I used to. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe I was spoiled, but it's also not as welcoming of a feeling anymore. Just generally, I'm not doing business here. I'm working at home, uh, but I do look forward to go back to Thailand. I kind of want to also travel a little bit. I'm homeschooling now, so actually after this interview, I in afternoons I do.
So
After
your teacher Mike.
I joke, man, but I always resisted to become an English teacher. Like.
It ended up happening. You can't escape the
I think I
English
even have it in.
teacher.
I think you read one of my books, Destination China. I have it in there. Like, I had my failures with product development too, and
Yeah.
there was rock bottoms, and then there was a rock bottom where I was on the street corner with another foreign American friend, and we were drinking beer, and I was devastated about a huge quality control problem I had, and I was going to have to be faced with a huge loss, and I was screaming like, "What am I gonna do?" I was on, it's just in China. It's busy everywhere, but it's like a busy corner, like, and I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like one of those ghetto 7-Elevens. I'm like, I have no money. What am I gonna do? And some woman in a suit, really presentable, middle-aged, businesswoman. She's like, gives me her name card, and I'm like,
You want a
I
job?
was in like, I think I had like a tank top. I think I had like cargo. This is like early on in China. Like I was still like a kid. And I had like,
You fit the bill. You
and
look like an
she's like,
English
"Oh,
teacher.
you want to be an English teacher? I have a," because she heard me and came up to me and tried to get me to become an English teacher. And then she says, "Oh, you don't even have to really teach. You just play video games. These are very wealthy. These are very wealthy."
So honest.
Yeah,
So
she says you
honest.
just play with them. The parents want them to spend more time with foreigners, so you just play video
Yeah.
games and hang out with them. And I was like, and my friend's like, he's like laughing in the corner. I'm like, no, this is
Yeah.
not gonna
I will never
happen.
teach English. Yeah. I feel
But
that same aversion to teaching English as well. Like
mm,
that was all I'll find money doing anything else,
yeah,
but I will not teach English.
yeah. I mean,
It's just a strong aversion.
I think we have listeners that are teachers. I mean, and then and I
Yeah.
understand some people do it. I think even in the communities, people do it as a short-term way to get into the lifestyle. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to hate on it, but I think you and I are on a similar page. Like we
Mm-hmm.
have a limit. That's kind of a line for. But my last part, which so I teach English to not just English, math. Like right now my wife's doing it. Her father is doing her grandparents are doing it. So we just
Mm-hmm.
share. But there was a time at the beginning where neighbors' kids were trying to sneak in, and then I'm like, I'm like this. I'm like Wendy, what's
We're
this?
not a school.
Who is this kid sitting here? Like, I don't know what it's not my kid. I don't think unless I don't know. Like I don't remember having 3 kids. She's
It's-
like, oh, but can he just sit there and listen? I'm like, no, no.
it
But
starts with one.
yeah, he just gonna sit there and listen. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'll do this for my kids. This is it. This is the line. I'm crossing lines here. I'm breaking boundaries mentally and physically. And then we had some arguments, and he hung out for a little while, but that was the last time I felt bad, but I'm like, I have my lines, Anyways, all right. I think we can wrap up today, but I do want to talk about what you're working on. We didn't talk about what your current venture is, so let's. I mean, I think you want to share a little bit about what you've been working. I mean, when you talk about the watch, which is like a lot of us, some learning experiences, and you've been through a lot. You've helped a lot of people with
Mm-hmm.
crowdfunding, but I know you're in so totally new space. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what you're working on.
Yeah. So now that I've been kind of living the lifestyle, and before I was trying to afford it by building things that were opportunistic, right? And just doing things that could make me money. Um, but there's some trade-offs there, and the trade-offs are often that without the passion, you can't really build something to the level that it has the potential to be. And so I wanted to pursue some business that was within my passion. And, for me, that's sleep. I love sleeping, but I love sleeping because I sucked at sleeping for most of my adult life. Once I got to college, I just started sleeping terribly. And then it just got worse and worse as I got into work life, and then moving out to China and just living a different lifestyle out there. Like, I just became a terrible insomniac where I couldn't count on any consistent sleep. And so, but with the kids, it became really clear to me that I needed to get better sleep. Cause I mean, I could go into the statistics here, but the part of the brain that is regulated by quality sleep is also part of the brain that controls your emotions that would indicate anger as well. And so if you don't get sleep, typically you'll find people that don't sleep as well are more angry. And so it was one of these things where, if I want to be a good dad, if I want to be a good husband, I feel like I need to be sleeping better. And so it really became a priority to figure out how to sleep quality every single night and get the amount of sleep I needed every single night. And so in that process, I was able to figure that out, and I wanted to share that with others. And so I've started a challenge. I call it the 8 months to 8 hours challenge. And it's simply the same exact process that I use to get better sleep. And just sharing that with others and kind of walking people through the methodology. We built a great community of people that are on the same path together, that journey to better sleep. And, especially for anybody listening that's like an entrepreneur or somebody that's trying to get into business, that stuff's stressful. I mean, stress is the number one cause. Stress and anxiety are the number one cause of sleeplessness. And I have over 200 people that are going through the challenge right now, and I survey everybody that's coming in, and the number one indicator is an overactive mind. I say, okay, the first question I ask is, what do you think is causing your sleeplessness? And the number one indicator, overactive mind. And if you're getting into entrepreneurship or you already have your own business, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Just laying at bed at night, just thinking like, oh, I've got all these problems in my business, all these opportunities, dreaming about what the possibilities are. And those kind of things, they just keep you up all night. And then the next day you can't perform at the same level. And so that's really what I'm trying to address, is helping people to sleep through the night, get the sleep they need so they can perform at the level they want.
Okay. Awesome. I guess I can link it in the show notes. I'm taking some quick notes here, but it's just
sleepshifu.com. You can go to sleepshifu.com. So right now I'm building out a free newsletter. So if you go check out sleepshifu.com, it's just a newsletter sign up, and it's basically tips and hacks to get better sleep tonight. It goes out weekly. And I interview experts in the field like sleep scientists and sleep coaches, sleep psychologists. Awesome. Really what I'm trying to solve is this part where maybe you know what you need to do in order to get better sleep, but you don't know like how to convince yourself to do those things. Because actually behavior change is one of the hardest things to do in life, right? So that's really what we're doing in the Sleep Shifu challenge, is like really trying to improve that behavior change so you can get the sleep you need. So if you sign up for the newsletter, like the next page is to check out the challenge. And it's like a free trial. So you just come check it out, see how it works for you. We have a whole web portal where you can track your sleep and, check out different psychological hacks in order to improve your sleep, etc. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks again for sharing with us today. And I'll appreciate it. I'm glad we finally got you on the show. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, man, it is. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and also check out our Instagram at Global From Asia. Thanks again and see you soon.
E-commerce like over 8 years.